Hi everybody.
Hey!
Today with Ironroot, we will be discussing lyrics by Eugene Hoots from Gogol Bordello. The song is called Underground. I will provide links to the song below as well as text. It's a very special song for me. And that's why I chose it. Okay, here we go. And there's a trap set up for you in every corner of this town. And so you learn the only way to go is underground. And there's a trap set up for you in every corner of your room. And so you learn the only way to go is through the roof, underground. And as we crossing border after border, we realize the difference is none. It's underdogs who, and if you want it, you always have to make your own fun. And as the upperdog leisurely sign, the local cultures are dying and dying. The programmed robots are buying and buying, and the cycle load of freaks, they are still trying and trying through the roof, underground.
And as the Boy Scouts learn to read between the lines, the silver rabbits hop between their father's lights. And the Boy Scouts ask, where? Where do they go? They go to the country that they only know. Just like their meanings, they lay between the lines. Between the borders, their real countries hide. The strategios saw their advertise. Their strategy of being is one in-your-face disguise. Oh, oh, ho, through the roof, underground. And when their own walls, they will crumble. And all their systems will be discrumbled. Around the stump of bigotry, our own, and then there's a Russian expletive, I assume.
Серебряные зайцы водят хороводы. Yeah, Zoom can take my singing.
Yeah, Zoom has very strange ideas about what to send to me and whatnot. So yeah, this is the song you picked, right? You want to tell something about the history?
I don't know the history. I just like know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of escape from the scary times and into kind of better world. But then he noticed that people are all the same everywhere somehow. Yeah. It does make me understand him like completely.
Well, that's a promising start, because now you're not projecting, you're just knowing.
I will be absolutely projecting, but I do believe that Eugene Hoots, he's Ukrainian, and he left Ukraine in the 90s and had to kind of discover the the world for himself. Yeah, and of course, absolutely amazing writer, performer, musician, poet. Yeah, extremely good.
Okay, well, we'll start with the first line. When there's a trap set up for you.
In
every corner of this town.
Yes. I think that those you should understand. I mean, okay, I will project here, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Anything you do in the town is known and seen, and he's afraid for his life, maybe for his well-being. Very easy to make mistakes, and especially if you're a performer. Performers are people who were needed at the time very much, and so they were loud as well, and others listened to them and noticed to them, and of course it's easy to be noticed, and you have to hide sometimes. Yeah, everybody knows you basically. That's what he says, when there is a trap set up for in every corner of the stand. I'm pretty sure a lot of people of his town knew him because he is that person who is performing for others in center of attention. There are people who can go and be unnoticed all their life, not performance. They're built this way. And
yeah, so
yeah.
right. Well, so for me, there's a sense of paranoia in there, right? Where like every corner of the town, like why is everybody caring about him, right? Like so there's also a sense of like heightened importance in this, where he's like, okay, like everybody's trying to do something with me, and they're spending their energy to get me down. So it's a dark, paranoid feeling, right? Where it's like, oh, like everybody's relating to me negatively, and when I hear something like that, that might actually be his experience, right? Because everybody's just I don't know, like in dire need, and they're gonna get what they can get, and it doesn't matter who they relate to, right? But then the trap is not set up for you, right? Like that's just that everybody is acting that way, and it will be set up for everyone. So you can read it that way, right? Where it's just like everybody is really distrustful, and it's infected the whole town, and so yeah, it doesn't really sound like a nice place to live. Look at it that way.
Yeah, and so you learn the only way to go is underground. So that one is meant he has to hide out. That doesn't mean he has to die, but he wants to hide.
Yeah, that's really sad, and I see that a lot with paranoid people, right? Like when they get too paranoid, they retreat, right? Like they go into this safe space that they can control, and that they don't have to engage with the dangerous world outside. And the underground is well, you'll explain more about it, but symbolically it's a regression into a previous state of self, right? Where you're going back into the unconscious, and you're acting on instinct.
I don't think that paranoia is applicable in this case. Of course, he would have kept it in other countries and other towns and other places. So paranoia is kind of self-inflicted. It implies self-inflicted feelings somehow. And here, like I know his work later on, like this one is not based on paranoia. I would not say it, because otherwise he would have it through like all other works. Like you could have seen it. Like this one is the only one which has paranoia in it. let's say paranoia. It's a song about escaping, and I don't believe it's paranoia though.
Well, paranoia can be based upon something real, like it often is. But then when you see the real thing, right? Like the paranoia is making it bigger, right? Like it's exaggerating the importance or the relevance of this threat, and then as a consequence of that exaggeration, you limit yourself.
I don't believe seeing friends dying is exaggeration. It's like not.
I'm not saying it's there. I'm just giving you some context. So yeah, like maybe he was completely justified in his position. Like that's completely possible.
He seems very in his writing to be very objective. I know Jordan Peterson said he's completely insane, but he's not. Like somehow I'm able to understand him as like, yeah, one of us.
Okay. When there's a trap set up for you in every corner of your room.
And so you learn.
The only way to go is through the roof.
Yeah, so there is this fear sets in. Like you said, paranoia. He already hides out in this stage of the song. And there is a fear that they're gonna get you in the room. So this was already self-inflicted. Yeah, like, not maybe self-inflicted, but like that one is based in imagination per se.
Yeah, so it's definitely an escalation, and your room, right? Like that's the place I was talking about, right? Like which is what the underground in some sense is representing, your safe space, right? And his safe space is getting invaded as well. And then he needs to escape, right? And then the escape is through the roof. And so there's a couple important symbolic layers there, right? Like so going up is transcendence, right? It's getting over something, right? Like we have all these words that represent the going up aspect, and overcoming a fear or something in life is you going over it, right? Like, or you becoming bigger than it, which is the thing I like more, right? So that you're not as affected by it anymore. And so he has this domicile where the place that he's living isn't safe, and he's identifying that the solution is to transcend, right? Like to become something new, to leave the stuckness and engage in a different way.
Oh, I think he talks about more dangerous solution. Talks about maybe final solution, because he says through the roof and underground. And through the roof and underground, it implies he gonna like end it all like that and end up underground. Another thing, roof. Roof meant it was a special word in Russian. It meant protection by patron, right? So you have, if you have a roof, this means there is a big boss that protects you, and then nobody can touch you, and that boss can make sure you can be safe somewhere. So this could be also that meaning. Through the roof underground is to get protection from somebody big, and then you can hide out. It's such a double meaning here for me, but you have to know the local kind of language. this is like the street name for the protection. It's called to have a roof, and your protector is your roof.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, so that's a really interesting take, and the word that you're using is true, right? So I get the feeling that if you look at it like you sketched, true means that he becomes part of that class, of that higher class, right? Like that he's no longer one of the low guys in the system, but he's actually one of the bullies, right? That everybody needs to look out for.
I don't know. That through means with help of. Like meaning for people who learn English from Russian perspective, like through the roof, like to me translates with help of, like he would use that. It's not joining it, like it's not with the roof, like it's not joining the clan. It's using it to do something, to get something. It's I think it's a linguistic thing somehow. Like I'm surprised how the same words in language can mean different things.
Well, yeah, like the trueness, right? Like it's going to the other side, right? And there's different ways of going to the other side.
Yeah, through it's via that road, right? Like to me. Also, the second meaning about the final solution here through the roof is like he thinks he will end it all, the soul will go up and the rest goes underground. This is also could be such a double meaning here. Yeah, that song is heavy.
You want me to do the Santa for the comic relief?
Oh my God, you will make me edit this video. Really? Okay.
Okay, no Santa.
Okay, do Santa.
Oh, through the roof, underground.
You're so endearing. Okay. Thank you for trying to cheer me up with something.
And as we're crossing border after border, we realize that difference is none.
Yeah. So he escaped here, right? He managed to escape, which is good news, yes. And then he absorbs this world, and I'm pretty sure he escaped into areas of poverty. Like he would be surrounded by people who also kind of in his situation or also struggling, let's say. Then he understood that he's one of them, he's one of the struggling people, and there is no difference really. He keeps running, right? Border after border.
Yeah. So the other side of that coin is what's the constant, right? Like what stays the same everywhere he goes? Well, it's he, right? So there's an aspect there that the things that he sees are the things that he pays attention to, right? Like he when he goes to a new place, he will go to the part of that place where he feels home, and he will seek out the people that he's familiar with, right? So in some sense, he's also recreating his old place, right? And then it's like, yeah, no wonder that everything looks the same, right? Because
I'm the same.
Yeah, you're the same.
Yeah. It's underdogs who, and if you want it, you always have to make your own fun. It's underdogs. And if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. So what he's talking about is what you were saying, right? Like he's on the lowest part of the social hierarchy. And then it's like, well, yeah, nobody cares for you, right? And you can't go to a bar with the band or whatever, because that's not in your social structure, right? So you have your own responsibility to bring your entertainment and also the lifting up, right? Because it's a really dark song, right? So there needs to be some positive spirit, and he's like, yeah, like there's no one looking out for me, like it's all on me.
Yeah, and you always have to make your own fun. Like again, like he's an entertainer, right? He has to make people laugh. He has to be this heart of the group and create this kind of thing. I can imagine he would come in the group of depressed people and try to make them own fun. They all have fun. It's such a
Yeah, and maybe that's the part that he's taking with him, right? Like he's always seeking out this place where he can create fun for people, right? Like where his need, where people need what he can provide.
Yeah.
And as the upper dog leisurely sighing, the local cultures are dying and dying.
Local cultures. Local cultures. I was thinking he would mean those regional things, he positions himself as this gypsy guy, but he is not. Like he's he just likes to hang out with them somehow. Like he's from a normal family, like absolutely. And the local cultures. So I remember in Ukraine when I was growing up, we had a kind of gypsy tribe living beside us, and the kids would not mix together somehow. They would have their own culture, but because they would like be very closed and they would not let people in too much somehow from the outside, right? And in some of his videos, he keeps like infiltrating the groups and hanging out with them, singing and performing with gypsies, with local gypsies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he hung out with them. He listened to their comments, and they were like, "Our culture is dying. We are being changed." And yeah, perhaps that's what he says.
Yeah. So the feeling that I get from it is the upper dog is like the guy with the cigar, right? And he's like making decisions. Oh, let's do this there, and like let's do this there, and then everybody else has to respond, right? It's like, okay, like you're gonna now play this music because I want to have this in this bar because like that's gonna make me profit or whatever, right? Like I get that sense, and then because the local people now have to listen to this person, and they lose their self-expression, right? Like they have to conform to the structure, right? So in some sense, it's an analogy to the modernization, right? Or the globalization where everything becomes standardized, and the uniqueness of the local is being lost. And like I think that is true. And obviously local cultures are always dying in some way, but this, when there's a tension by the outside asking you to conform, that's where it gets dying.
I also think it might be his way of saying that people on top, upper dogs, they don't see the lower dogs somehow, and their decisions are not felt by them, massively felt by small people, underdogs, but not by the upper dogs. So like they can be really bored, make a decision, but I don't know if it's really fair. I think he like the upper dogs, they make decisions. Perhaps it's also hard for them to make decisions. I don't know. It's hard.
Well, I agree, right? Like it's necessary, right? Like in order to have a structure, right? Like like a big organization, you're more removed from the local people, and when you make decisions for big groups, there's going to be parts of that group that are going to suffer, right? Like they need to give in order to support the whole group. So yeah, I think it's unfair to fully put that on the upper dog. I think that's just like a law of nature where like that has to happen, and I think the job as a leader is to prevent the most harm. Like
I mean, ideally. The programmed robots are buying and buying, and cycle load of freaks, they are still trying and trying. So is he talking about stock exchange here?
No, I would say this is drugs. Like this is talking about drugs. The programmed robots are the addicts, and they're just buying and buying from the upper dogs, and they're just stuck. And then there's these crazy people that just keep going, even though every odds are against them. And I think that's the tension that he's trying to put out there, which is a really dark perspective, because well, the people who are trying are the people who are making things work. Like they're the people that society runs on, right? So to put them in this negative light is yeah, I don't know.
I completely reversed that sentence somehow. I would like, to me it felt like a comparison while the financial thing is going on, and like whatever stock exchange things happening, cycle load of freaks, I thought it's us. And they're still trying and trying. They're trying to get some coins, and programmed robots who are buying and buying are those stock exchange people. Like I completely had a different interpretation of this sentence. I don't know which one he meant. Like I would like Eugene to tell us what he meant.
Yeah, we all like that. You can come on the show if you want.
Eugene,
Anyway.
I'm your absolutely dear fan.
But yeah, like I don't think our interpretations are that far apart. But the strange thing there is he's comparing robots to freaks, right? So
Programmed robots to freaks. I think programs or robots are people who live in structure, and freaks are the people who are outside of the structure. And usually freaks, it's like him. He is a freak. Like he says, I like. He feels like the psycho freak. That's his shtick, right? So they're still trying and people like him are always poor somehow, right? Like because he's not commercialized, he's not in the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would refuse big kind of labels that would try to sign him, because they would frame him and constrain him in a sense. Like the moment he's this underdog,
Mm-hmm.
he can speak freely in a sense, like he can criticize the society and things. I like there is so much more to him than people realize. Yeah.
Oh, through the roof, underground.
So it's connected, right? The psycho-lot of freaks still trying through the roof underground. That's he makes a circle. That's why I kept it even here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you weren't trying to tease me? Okay.
No.
And as the Boy Scouts learn to read between the lines, the silver rabbits hop between their father's lies.
Wow. That's, yeah, like that poet is, he's so good. As the boys try to decipher what's really happening, little sparkles can look through bad teachings of their fathers, like the silver rabbits. Like I think he talks about those kind of, the moment they try to read between the lines, their ideas can pierce through the structured teachings of society, let's say.
Yeah. So what Silver Rabbit makes me think of is Mercury and the fluid nature of it, where just like it's not bound by what it's encountering. It just flows around it. So there's a it invokes a sense of skilledness, right? Like this this going with the wind in the flow, and the father's lies instead as well, if your father would lie to you, you can perceive that as hurtful. I mean, that would be a natural response, right? But now you're stuck in the being hurt. And I think the silver rabbit is like, no, I'm not going to get hurt. I'm gonna see it as an obstacle for what I actually want to do, and I'll just make my own way. So I think there's a sense of liberation that's being invoked.
Yeah, but also rabbits are very harmless. Like unless it's a Monty Python killer rabbit, but it's just like silver rabbits home between their father's lies. I think it's just the fresh thought, right? Like very, very unthreatening. Can like, oh, let me hop, peek through there.
Yeah, and now I got this thought of this abusive father, right? Where there's this abusive relationship, and you have your goal when you're in an abusive relationship is to avoid getting hurt, right? So there's this sense where this hopping nature is avoiding the conflict, right?
Their father's lies. This is the way the society is structured, right? They have to be scared, like while they decipher what is between the lines, they will start seeing that the society is built wrongly, but they still will have to be silver rabbits. They still would have to be like those nice little careful things, right? Otherwise the society will crush them.
Oh yeah, I like that. So it's like a disguise.
Yes, it's like a disguise, silver. Like again, cannot recommend highly enough. Words of Gogol Bordello, they are so much more meaning to them that one might see with on the first glance. And Boy Scouts ask, where? Where do they go? The silver rabbits. They go to the country that they only know.
Yeah, that's giving me a sad vibe, right? Like this is like escapism, right? Like I'm retreating to my fantasy.
Yeah, they would build this fantasy world that they feel safe in, like the back in the hole.
Yes, back in the underground.
Yeah, rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, so this goes back to the start as well, right? Like this, there's a trap, right? Like, oh, well, maybe traps are set up for rabbits.
Yeah.
And then the traps also come into your room, right? So I yeah, there's this regression, right? Like there's this big dangerous world and become smaller, smaller, smaller.
Well, he said, as we crossing border of the border, the difference is known, right? So what he said, like, I noticed that the thing that I was scared of back when I was trying to escape the town, after I escaped, I noticed, but it changed form. I just noticed it in a different place. So he was unsafe there, and he's unsafe here to speak free speech in between the social structure, right? Like he has to use very kind of interpretive language in order to disguise the issues, right? Again, I'm not surprised Jordan likes him.
I understand, yeah. That, just like their meanings, they lay between the lines, between the borders, their real countries hide.
So he's looking for home, basically. He's looking, where is this perfect real country that I belong to?
Yeah, I'm getting this sense, but I'm having a hard time to put it into words. But he's talking about a different way of living. He's talking about, okay, there's lines, right, or borders, and the way that I'm going to live is I'm going to effectively ignore them, and in the ignoring them, I create a new world with new countries, right? Like so you were talking about the gypsies, right? Like the gypsies are a good example of that, where they do have groupings together, but the groupings are in the moving, and so their relationship to a place is different, right? And the relationship to home is also different, right? Like the home is the people that they travel with, and so I feel like that's being invoked. Is like, okay, I can't rely on the physical space to build something, so I need to build something that's between the physical space, right? Like it's floating
between
in the air.
Border.
Yeah.
Between the borders. Between the father's lie. Between the lines, between the borders. So the reality is always in between for him. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and that also gives me a lack of commitment, right? It's like, okay, right? Like
Gypsies are very free spirited.
yeah.
Like, no, you will not constrain me.
Exactly. Yeah. You're next. You can speak that awful word.
The strategios saw their advertise. Their strategy of being is one in your face disguise. Yeah, so it's strategios saw their advertise. Their strategy of being is one in your face. Yeah, so he basically I will speak truth into your face, but I will disguise it so you cannot kind of punish me much. So he's always unconstrained here, and he will poke the bear, basically.
Oh, yeah. So you think the strategio is talking about the gypsy effectively?
Mm-hmm.
Because I got the sense, right, like it was more talking about the bosses.
Okay.
But yeah, like, so the in-your-face disguise is more like someone barging into the room and walking up to you and shouting at you, right? And it's the overwhelming nature of that gives them protection, right? So now they don't have to deal with the real thing, because effectively they're creating this enchantment, right? Like everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? And then they don't get contested. So that's what I got out of it. But it's obviously important, like who this strategio is, because like
again, Eugene, just tell us what it meant. It's like I'm projecting here, right?
No, but I think you're correct, right? Like I think performing also has this sweeping element where you're just coming in the room, and instead of using the power of potential violence, you're making a different enchantment, right? Like you it's more invitation. It's ooh, look at what fun you could have.
Yes, it's like a rabbit strategy, right?
Yeah,
Silver
well,
rabbit, like it's like
the shiny silver rabbit.
yeah, I'm not threatening. I'm not threatening. Look, I'm shining. I'm not threatening. That's like a perfect. By the way, he will use it later in Russian. Silver rabbit is like this shiny, non-threatening thing. Look, I'm rabbit. I'm shiny. I'm not threatening. Look at me, weasel.
Yeah. So where that made me think of is Bugs Bunny. But I don't think
that rabbit was like, oh, he was bunny. Come on, he was not rabbit. Bunny is a different thing. He's a rabbit. Like rabbits aren't threatening. Bunnies, those are wishes. Like, like whatever he was. Okay.
oh, through the roof, underground.
In your face disguise, and again, it's like this through the roof underground is connected to in your face disguise. He always brings it full circle. Their strategy of being is one in your face disguise through the roof underground. So I think through the roof and underground, he talks about rabbits escaping. He already talking about this group of rabbits that can read between the lines, that can escape through the roof underground, that can disguise themselves. He's making some sort of analogy here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going back to Bugs Bunny, and Elmer Fudd, like going behind him with the gun and shooting, and he's just jumping and like he doesn't get hit. So there's an element of being in your face there, where it's like,
oh yeah, that one is definitely in your face. Yeah, silver rabbit.
And when their own walls, they will crumble, and all the systems will be discombobulated.
Discombobulated.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up that word so you can start.
Around the stump of bigotry. Okay, I will not go further. And when their own walls, they will crumble. They will crumble. And all the systems will be discombobulated. And their own walls, it's like at the beginning when there is a trap set up for you in every corner of your room, right? So their own protection will be ruined. Around the stump of bigotry your own, серебряные зайцы водят хороводы. So I will translate what's the fourth line here was. Серебряные зайцы водят хороводы means silver rabbits dancing in circles. So rabbits representing free thought for him, right? Those ideas, those free ideas that he has. And he basically says that there will be a moment when you will feel your own walls fall down, you will feel insecure, you will go completely berserk, and all those silver rabbits in my head, those free ideas, will start going circles. He said it in Russian. They will start going in circles. So this is already this kind of episode, psychotic episode he describes that happens to him. Like he feels unsafe in his own head, and basically those free ideas are already taking over. And then he just basically screams all the time through the roof on the ground, through the roof on the ground. So he gets into this escape mode again. He tries to escape that, but it's already in his head. Kind of sad ending for me. Like it's a war. Like he did not get better, he got worse. He found
Well,
that
that fits the paranoia that I
know, but I always like to agree with you by the end of the song, not at the beginning. Like to see the character. Now I will agree with Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
Wow. Oh man, all in agreement. We should end on it, but like I'm still gonna do my own try because I'm gonna mess this up, right? So the way that I read it, because I don't have all of this amazing background that you have, is I was for some reason I keep going back to these bosses, right? Like these upperdogs that put down these systems, right? Because that's what
he needs somebody to blame for his escape, right? He lost everything. He lost his home. He lost his country, right? He needs somebody to blame, and he goes through. Oh, there are no borders. There is no borders. We're all the same. He goes through that pattern. And and the truth is, upper dogs are also people. Like they're also doing the best they can. They're just like a little bit more ambitious than the lower dog. Maybe have a bit better education and life circumstances, but they are also really deeply flawed.
Yes, and I think that's what he's recognizing, right? Like when you build systems, especially systems that aren't carried by all the people, which is a thing that he said in the song, then these systems they won't hold, right? Like over time, they will collapse, and well, that's true in your head as well, right? Like if you build systems that don't work, if you build ways of understanding the world where there's traps in your room, you can't maintain that, right? Like that will be the end of you, right? Like you're gonna hit rock bottom and you're gonna have to escape, or you're gonna have to become a what is he calling it?
A programmed
robot.
Yeah, he puts a blame here. He puts a blame on father's lies, so the structure. He puts a blame on them somehow, right? So they are this outside force, and he's the one who has to navigate through those systems that were built in, right? Like they put traps. They like it's always those upper dogs, right? It comes like he definitely did not feel safe as a child here. Like you can feel it. He always had to hide, escape, entertain Like he was like, look at me, I'm funny, don't kill me. Like that's basically how it started and unfolded for him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a sad ending.
Yeah, and then I want to lift up this idea of bigotry, right? So in what is bigotry? Bigotry is in some sense the making of a category that's not justified, right? And again, right, like this,
It
we
says
do this
around
towards
the
the
stump of bigotry. So this means he made it and he cut it down, and around it the rabbits doing the circles.
right. But what, like, a stump is also a thing that lost the ability for life, right? Like it's now it's the end. It's the ruins of something that was, right, like that was growing. So there's a stunted nature that's connected to the bigotry, and I want to take this back into the mental space as well, right? Like we have these ideas, right, where we're making assumptions about the world, right? And these assumptions, they get in our way, right? Like they're stunting us, right? Like they're and the crumbling or the releasing, right? Like because why do you have that stump? Well, there's a tension there, right? Like there's something that you're protecting from, and letting that stump go, and letting the bigotry go, and letting what's really there come to you. That's where the healing begins, right? Like that's where you can start dancing again, right? Or where you can participate with it in a joyful way, as opposed to that it's this negative, scary thing.
What should he do with all those silver rabbits that are like, I will type it out, that sentence in Russian. Just I will put it also in the text in there.
Well, like what I think he should do with these silver rabbits is he should dance with them, right? Like, and in the dancing, he can find joy and a new way of seeing these things that were all this traps, right? Like this imposition of the world, and he needs to have a new relationship. He needs to have something healthy where he's not running, but he's doing the slippery thing that he was talking about, where it's like, okay, like it's there and it's bad, but I'm not gonna be put down by it, right? Like I'm just gonna go between the traps, like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. So, Ironroot, how did you like the song?
Well, I think it was amazing because we got agreement between three people, even one person that isn't here. So it's like that's just like magic. And then secondly, it brought us to a whole bunch of places that I thought were valuable exploring. I think the way that we went back and forth, and we kept finding more and more, right? Like I wanna point that out for people, right? Like that's a thing that you can do together, right? Where you just find more and more and more in the thing that you're looking at, and being together in that way is a lot healthier than having a discussion or conflict.
Also, there is a value in having a conversation, right? As I always said, one projection is not enough. You need to ask people for their opinion as well, in order to like form more or less near truth understanding of lyrics, right? And not only of lyrics, of life as well. Like get opinions from the outside of your own head. Like, yeah,
well, and
that,
even more. No, even more, Nodrik, because you get opinions from outside of your own head, but you also get them from inside of your own head. Like hearing yourself speak these things allows you to see yourself, because you might think you have an opinion, but when you speak it, now you have to You have to actually make up the words and put it in a structure, and that's different. There's something magical about actually speaking things out.
Okay. Yeah. All of that will be possible if people will just get a little bit more free time and a little bit more friends. So this podcast today was sponsored, as always, by our free time. And please get yourself some. And bye.
Bye.
When there's a trap set up for you in every corner of this town, and so we learn the only way to go is through the room underground. When there's a trap set up for you in every corner of your room, and so you learn the only way to go is through the roof underground.